It's really interesting when we think about today and everything going on, and we think about sales. And, about 30 years ago, I was doing sales training, customer service training, and I really liked it. And I thought, oh, I've got answers other people don't have. Now, let me be very candid. There are some great sales training programs out there. But where we make our money now is teaching leaders how to coach. And I always say, anyone who's heard me on one of our training magazine webinars has heard me. Training's not the problem. It's the application and the reinforcement of training. The same thing holds true for sales. And I've done my own little pseudo study, and I've been talking to sales leaders inside some of our client sites and outside of our client sites. And I'll ask what I call sales audit questions. And I said, how many people on your team percentage wise hit their quotas? Well, I don't know. I'd have to think about that. So you don't know your numbers. So, what I'm about to share with you is a concept that is so stupidly simple, and that is sales is tough, so get tough. You either know your damn numbers or you don't. And I'm passionate about this topic because I hate sales training doing it. And here's why. Not that sales training doesn't have value, it has tremendous value. The problem with sales training is you have these egos sitting back saying, well, has this guy ever sold our stuff? And blah. I'm in sales too, pal. If you're not willing to learn from a peer, if you're not willing to learn from your manager, God, we want ego because it's a hard enough field. But I believe ego stands for eroding growth opportunities. It is our great blockage of sales development. How do I know that? Do you know it's been estimated that 48 to 52% of people hit or don't hit their quota every year? It's only one out of every two reps. See, I think sales leaders should be held accountable for and get bonuses based on the number of people they've increased hitting their goals, hitting their quotas, because then guess what happens? They're really attentive, not just to the number, but to the development of their people. That's rule number one I would encourage. Number two, you have to dissect your sales approach and process, and you build it down into what we call the three tiers of learning: knowledge, skill, and behavior. So when you have objection handling, you could have 20 different objections. You have to identify every one of those. Knowledge, what should they do or say? Skill, have they practiced it? Behavioral, can they handle it with confidence and conviction? And between the start and the end of a sales approach or process, you're going to have various nuances of what people can or cannot do. Therein lies the opportunity. But what we do, and we still do this bullshit. Well, how many leads did you get this week? What was your close rate? See, where sales leaders get in trouble is they see the leads in the funnel and they see the sales won or lost out of the funnel. 80 to 85% of the interaction with the customer, the prospect, is in the middle. That's where the opportunity development is. I said this 30 some years ago, and you know what I get? And I'm going to be really jaded during this presentation. I'll get people folding their arms and, well, this is dumb. And God, here's the funniest thing about salespeople. Remember, I'm a salesperson. It's one of my major responsibilities in my company. And there are times I hate it. There are times I don't want to prospect. There are times I don't want to follow up. There are times that I absolutely hate getting ghosted. I get it. But I'm viewed as this outside entity, or the sales leader brings in a sales trainer. If the sales leader is not reinforcing that training with practice and repetitive practice and positive reinforcement, so people feel good about getting better. I do not care how good somebody is in sales. They will have down years if they don't practice, if they don't pivot their skills. And so I was talking to a sales leader and I asked him, I said, how many salespeople do you have? He said, about 60. I said, great. How often do you practice? And he said, we really don't. And he was a great guy, really open, very transparent. We don't, and we should. I said, okay. I said, well, how often do people hit their quotas? He goes, it's about 50% of the time. I said, how much has that number changed? He said, not much, but it's kind of the status quo. I said, that's interesting. I said, do you mind if I state back to you? And I'm going to be really obnoxious. And he said, sure. I go, so you're committed to the status quo. He goes, is that what I just said? I said, kind of. And I said, I'm kind of taking words out of context. And we laughed about it. And he said, yeah, he said, they just hate to practice. I said, of course they do. Do you know why salespeople hate to role play? And for salespeople out there who are watching this and going, hey, I hate this video, Tim, I practice all the time. Great. I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to organizations that hire people, they hire the resume, they put them out in the field, they put them out behind the phone, they put them at the desk, and we then start to evaluate and manage and coach and mentor them by their numbers. Numbers do not improve skills. People improve skills that improve numbers. And so as our conversation continued, we started to talk about, how do you get people feeling good about getting better? I said, stay away from constructive feedback. Just get them practicing. And anybody who's heard me speak knows that I have been teaching boys volleyball for 30, 32 years on and off. And I just don't yell and get mad at a kid making a mistake in the first month of practice. The reason being is it's part of the process of getting better. Yet in sales, we have a different relationship. Got this thing over here called talent development. Got this thing over here where my boss is saying, where are the numbers at? Because salespeople and sales organizations fuel the growth of companies, along with other departments. Don't get me wrong. And that is an oxymoronic relationship. I want numbers, but I want to develop people. Do you know what will happen for job safety? I'll choose numbers over people any day of the week to survive. And we've created that. So what we have to do is create what we call sales progressions of practice and repetitive reinforcement that do not interrupt the numbers. Not easy. So you have to look at your sales process and go from point A to point B and identify it. 99% of people have not. They'll have a sales process, they'll have approach, but they will not do the deep dive. Let me give you another example. Just the other day, I was talking to somebody and they were talking about objections. And I said, awesome. How do you handle that? He said, well, I want our people to be confident. I go, no. What I'm asking is they basically say competitor price objection, whatever that objection is in that moment. And I forget what the objection was. What do you want them to say? He couldn't answer it. So the leader has got expectations of what he or she can't even describe as an expectation. You cannot inspect what you don't expect. And that is the funniest thing. So what we do at Progress Coaching is we do something called a sales audit. We will audit your sales process and approach. We will look at every single nuance down to knowledge, skill, and behavior. We will identify what you have well thought out, where you need to do a little bit of a deeper dive to set expectations, down to the gatekeeper, down to follow-up emails, all those things. But then number two, we'll do a sales audit of people. And the sales audit isn't what you're doing wrong. It's where do we have opportunities of gap that we can go to the next level. To put my cards out there, to put my transparency out there, truth be told, if I never had to sell again, I'd be thrilled. I really enjoy product development. Yet I realized I wasn't practicing all the time what I preach. And I often tell people, if there's parts of sales that you don't like cold calling, whatever it might be, what do we do? We tend to avoid it. And I always say, become great at what you don't like, because you'll have to do less of it. So recently I took a sales training course and I did it with Ryan Serhant from the TV show for real estate. And I really like his stuff because he is all about relentless reach out, follow up. And one of the things I realized is I was really subpar in follow up. So I've been doing more and more of it. I have so many opportunities right now as I'm doing this broadcast. And we're creatures of habit, right? That's why we need sales coaches. I have 3 coaches right now. We need sales coaches. We need people constantly driving us because sometimes we forget. We don't see things. We forget the little things that we need to do. And sales is tough. Sales is tough. I often use this cliche slogan. Sales is tough, so get tough. And where you get tough is get tough on yourself. Ask yourself, am I doing everything I can? Every sales rep will say, oh, yeah, I am. Bullshit. You're not doing everything you can. Sales is tough. And so when I think about all the training, all the programs out there, present company included, what we have to look at is the mindset, what I call the sales set. Not the sales mindset, the sales set. Set your sales mind to do whatever it takes. Saturdays, Sundays, evenings, whatever it is. And some of you are probably doing that. Now, the knee-jerk reaction to those people who aren't 100% committed will say, well, that's crazy. I got a family. I got kids. I get it. I got a wife and 2 kids. I've never missed one of my kids' events at high school or college. So what you have to think about is, how do I reinvent myself? How do I go to that next level? How do I take myself as a sales professional? Number one, develop sales awareness. Be honest with yourself. And it starts here. If you hit your numbers, you probably got help. Show those people appreciation. When you don't hit your numbers, you did not hit your numbers. So quit pointing at other things like the economy, marketing, or the leads weren't good. Remember, when you point a finger at somebody, you got three fingers pointing back at you. Number two, become a student of practice. I often tell people, and I got the nicest compliment with a friend of mine in Tennessee over the past week who runs a sales organization. And Blake said, your secret power is your ability to just do this on the fly. I'm not very intelligent, but I'm really well practiced. I will role play. I will practice sales. I'll practice coaching. I'll look at different conversations so I can position people to have success as much as I can. I will reinvent conversations constantly because I want to become really good. I'm a practitioner of it. So number one, develop self-awareness. Start with an EQ assessment. Look in the mirror. Do a 360 if you have to. Just absorb it. Don't fight it. If some people think you're an asshole, sometimes you're acting like an asshole. The knee-jerk reaction is, well, I'm not an asshole all the time. All right, you're an asshole part of the time. Don't dismiss the insight to where you can alter the perception people have of you so you can have even greater success. Number two, become a practitioner. Get a peer, get a friend, practice, practice, practice. Go to your customers, get some feedback. And then number three, practice positivity. Do you have sales support staff? Do you have marketing staff? How often do you thank them? Do you get up every day and think it's a day of opportunity, a day of, oh crap, I hope I win this deal? You know, when you lose a deal, there's an opportunity. You learn about why you lost the deal. You know, I'll never forget when I practiced what I preached. I went back to a company who chose somebody else and I said, can I ask, why didn't you choose us? I don't need to know why you chose the other firm because that's your personal business. They said, you're not ICF certified. I said, my lack of coaching certification was our drawback. They never mentioned it. And the woman goes, we told you that, didn't we? I go, no. I said, well, can I ask you something? To go, what was your number one reason for choosing the other firm? Well, we really want to implement a well thought out coaching model. And I'm sitting here stunned because our model is very easy. ICF is very complex. It's got a very in-depth competency model. It's not a bad model. Leaders just going from telling to asking is a huge leap of faith. And that's where we specialize. So I reviewed that with her and I said, look, don't change your mind. By the end of the call, she had changed her mind. But it was interesting, had I not made that call, if I wasn't willing to look in the mirror, and it was horribly uncomfortable at the start. Then when I found out, you know what I realized? I didn't do a good job. I didn't ask the right questions. I didn't understand her value drivers, her buying drivers. The minute she said the certification was really important to us, and then she said, we told you that, didn't we? I go, no, I don't even think I asked you. So one of my questions I now ask is, what are you looking for from a coaching staff? What's the top criteria you're looking? If somebody says experience, I'll put my experience up against just about anybody's. If someone's looking for a vast array of certifications, I can get into DISC, Motivator, EQ. I don't have a coaching certification because I have my own coaching program I believe in. So you have to constantly be learning. And do you know it's been estimated? I just read this. I think it's up to 24% of people are happier when they're learning something new. What do we do with sales? The deal, the grind, the presentation, the prospecting, the follow-up, the proposal development. We forget about learning. So I want to share this with you. I just found a tool and I hate prospecting. To be honest with you, I hate it. I'm being honest. I hate it. I hate being ghosted. I hate all the BS. I get stuff all the time on LinkedIn. Hey, we can help you find leads. You know, that's 1 of 50 firms every month. I'm not kidding you. And I found a tool that allows you to extract things. Send me an email if you're interested. Extract things off a LinkedIn profile and custom a message. It uses AI. And I'm actually getting appointments. I said, oh, I hear you worked at so-and-so firm and you work at the following nonprofit. That's really admirable. It does it all for you. And so I'm sending these really cool custom LinkedIn messages saying, let's connect. And if you're ever interested in chatting, I've gotten 3 or 4 appointments from it. Took me less than 30 minutes. Never seen a tool like this. So we have to pivot our thought process. We have to pivot the tools we use. We have to pivot our sales set. And I always start here. When you're successful, thank people who helped you. When you're not successful, look in the mirror and say, I wasn't successful. I've got some gaps I got to address. If you do those two things, you will absolutely differentiate your career. Now, if you're intrigued, reach out to us. Send me an email at tim@progresscoachingleader. And if you're interested in finding out how good your process is and how well thought out it is and how good your people are, we provide a service called Sales Audit. And what we do is we do an audit, not just of your process and approach, but also of your people. And we look at it at your process and approach, and then we drive it down into your people. And we find out where they're comfortable, where they have strengths, where they have opportunities to grow. And then we advise you and create a game plan for you that you can administer your own coaching and reinforcement and even training. We're not a sales training firm. That's not what we do. I don't want to do it, because what we specialize in is reinforcing what you do with your training, what you do to position your leaders and your sales representatives to have success. Let me know your thoughts. I hope this was helpful. Thanks, everybody.